Through the mists of time, these ancient monuments come to us constructed by our ancestors, sending message and purpose to us, and we stand here today looking at them, scratching our heads going, what the feck are these all about? So, hello, it's Neil Getz. I'm standing at Stonehead, Recumbent Stone Circle in Aberdeenshire. It is fairly misty, no blue skies, no sunshine, no hills on the horizon to check alignments, but I have not been to a circle for quite a number of days, and it's driving me nuts, so I just needed to get out and get to one of these churches. So, Stonehead, all that's left of this circle is the recumbent setting. It's a massive recumbent setting, but this is all that's left. Sketches and photographs in great crowns of stone have kind of indications of stones in the background at the sides there fallen, and there was maybe some documentation of maybe kind of 3 of the circle stones had fallen, but I suspect that that's what these are now, being pushed up to the recumbent setting to allow the field to be used as a, ploughed and used for the farmer's requirements. So, let's have a wee look of what it would be like to have stood in the middle, just to get some orientation. Come round, and you see there's quite a lot of medium stones, larger stones being piled up. So let's sort of guess of where the diameter might be, and we'll be looking across the recumbent from the middle of the stone. And the orientation with this circle is this is southwest. So the majority of the stones that we've got left to us to look at are kind of more, or the majority of them are more kind of heading directly south or south-southwest. This one's southwest. So quite an interesting orientation, and it's been really handy today to see exactly where that's going on the horizon. But I'll maybe come back another time to do that, maybe more in the summertime. So let's look at what's left here then. So we've got a massive recumbent and a fairly tall squarish block flanker and a kind of smaller but pointed flanker. And again, that's relatively common. Not always, but relatively common to have one flanker a kind of block square shape and one flanker a kind of pointed shape. But you never know the damage and the abuse that these stones have had over the years, so you can only just surmise what we've got in front of us. So let's look at the recumbent setting, then we'll look at the remaining stones that are lying around. So as per convention then, we've got recumbent setting, we've got stone number 1, which is the west flanker, recumbent's number 2, east flanker's number 3. So stone number 1 then, there's a little bit of a kind of height difference, I think just because of the ploughing and the use of the field, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're far off the socket depth of this stone. It looks like it's maybe been at a different height, and the field's been kind of like ploughed, and the natural level of the field's been dropped due to use. But we have got a fairly chunky stone here. I think this one is, if I remember rightly from the Great Crowns of Stone, it's about 2.9 metres, 3 metres. It's a monster of a stone. It's a big, significant stone. We've got, it's relatively irregular. It's quite kind of wide at the bottom here, and kind of comes up a little bit tapered at the top, but still pretty angular. Not quite as distinctive kind of right angles as many of the stones that we've seen. It is at a slight angle, but the whole setting's at a slight angle. From what we can see today, a significant chunk come out this bottom section, which could be one of these stones here. but that wouldn't look to me like a normal design to have it top heavy, essentially. It's usually the other way around. You can see it's quite squarish. If it was to maybe be that, my intention. This section here got a good angle on it, grey granite, and you can see at this angle, although the stones here have been kind of pushed up, the spoil, the stones from the field have been pushed up here. It's raised the level quite a bit. So let's go back down here. So it's a relatively slender stone for its size and height. Now we come on to the recumbent. The recumbent is like a pretty lot. It's one of the larger stones in length and height. It's not an old keeg because it's relatively slim. It has a kind of distinctive lip on it, almost like a little chair. And I'm sure, as its original intention would have been to be sat perpendicular to the ground. In other words, it's been up slightly, as most of the stones would be. So it's a good, it's a 3.85 metres long, almost 4 metres long. Like some of the longest ones we've seen, they're about that kind of size. It's relatively tall. I think it's about, right from base level, I think it's maybe up closer to the 2 metre mark. I think it's probably had a little bit of activity at both ends. It looks like it's maybe suffered a little bit of damage. As far as documentation is concerned, the stones haven't really moved or been noted in any other orientation than they currently are today. So for the last 200, 300 years, they've been exactly as we've seen them. What's missing is the circle stones. The kind of 2 or 3 circle stones I mentioned earlier have maybe been removed and moved. So yeah, it's quite it's an unusual in it that it's slim and it's got this sort of curved top here. Just look round the back. You can see it's quite a bit of a not as bad as tire bagger or anything like that, but it's certainly leaning over. I mean, you could possibly camp under there and get a bit of shelter. But it's a relatively slender stone for a recumbent. Bulges maybe in the middle, out where the lip is. Hard to tell with all the stone spoil at the side. But yeah, there is a you could maybe been forgiven for a kind of shaped top. And I know there's difference in opinions about what the original kind of origin of these stones. Were they found as they are, literally, and dragged into place, or were they quarried and shaped and such? So probably fairly difficult to tell, considering there has been almost 5,000 years since that happened. But yeah, it's quite an unusual recumbent, and it's fairly slim. Stone number 3 then, or flanker 2, kind of pointed, but again, it could have been a lot of life being given to this stone. There could have been a time when these stones had fallen, had maybe been dropped when the rest of the stone circle had been removed or broken up. Probably a cairn here as well. So you never know, if they've maybe been re-erected and had a little bit of damage there. Just noticed there's a nice bit of quartz there, just running right through there. Lovely. And again, it's a relatively slender stone. Quite slab-like though, a little bit of a kind of point coming forward, like a triangle, facing outwards from the circle. And again, you could maybe be forgiven that the bottom of the recumbent's becoming a little bit exposed, and that might be the same here for the both flankers. As it, you know, I'm not suggesting they're about to fall over or anything, but it is getting a little bit exposed at this side. I think this one's round about just a little bit taller than the recumbent, so this one's about 2.4 meters, I think, tall. Again, grey granite. It's a lovely setting. In summer, I'll come back definitely and do another video here for a nicer day. But it's a great site to visit, very accessible, just parked just beside the field and through the fence. And it's a nice big recumbent setting to have a look at. So these smaller stones, so yeah, this one here could be, or one of them could be the broken edge of the stone number 1. This could have been part of a chunk of a circle stone that was maybe lying across in the field, and they just pulled it across. If I stand with my back to the recumbent, and then sort of just come to the right a little bit. I did have a wander. There's a couple of big boulders just in the tree line there, which could easily have been circle stones dragged to the edge. I can see the point of a farmer, you know, back in the day when it was a single horse, literally 1 horsepower, dragging your plough, and you struck a stone underneath the ground. The chances are it stopped the plough, probably didn't damage the blade. But now with powerful tractors, you're shearing the blade or breaking it, and you can imagine that the farmers and landowners are not going to be too pleased with that. So pushing stones to the side, trying to reduce them, dragging them away to the edge of the field, using them as a part of a stone dike, has been going on for hundreds of years. So and with that mindset, we're probably fairly fortunate to have what we have, as far as recumbent stone circles are concerned. So I hope you've enjoyed that little walkthrough of Stonehead. It's a lovely circle, very accessible. The field's not, I think the last couple of times I've been here, it looks like the field's maybe used for sheep or cattle or such, so it's not usually used for crops, I don't think, or this time around anyway. Anyway, there we go. Hope you've enjoyed that, and we'll catch you later.